So, Nina, could you list for me what you've been called too much of?
Oh, too small, too sensitive, too forward, too honest, which I hate that one.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, it is a weird one, isn't it? Too emotional, too certain, which I half agree with that one. Too small, too small, too small, too small. Yeah, those are probably the worst ones.
And when you've been called these things, like, who's said it to you, in what context, and how has it made you feel?
Well, the too small one is just people in the street, which it's an odd one because it doesn't upset me. It kind of makes me laugh, but at the same time there's like an underlying annoyance there because it's this feeling of entitlement that people have to just say things to you about the way that you look or the way that you were born, which I don't think you do in other contexts, you know. I mean, you wouldn't just go up to like someone missing a limb and go, who you don't know, and just go, you're missing a limb. Wow. How do you go to work in the morning? You know, you would never do that. Or someone who's balding, you wouldn't go up to them and say, oh, you're losing your hair, aren't you? It's just weird. It's just like a strange feeling that like this thing, well, you're very short, aren't you? That's okay to say. So it's always like it doesn't upset me, but there's a feeling, kind of a weird feeling that you get when it happens. Too sensitive makes me feel extra sensitive, so I don't know what they expect. It's the same with too emotional. It makes you feel more emotions because it makes you feel ashamed and you wish you weren't like that. You know, no one wants to be hyper emotional, you know. No one wants to be super sensitive. It's just something that you are. So yeah, then you get extra emotions. You get shame and regret and not loathing, but it's probably self-dislike. And then you kind of feel resentful to the other person, and but I've already said like 5 extra emotions that you just got from being called too emotional, so that's a bit of a problem there, an inherent problem.
And with all these things you've been called too much of, like how are they their problem and how are they your problem? Or like how do you see the percentage? Do you think? But I don't know. Like, this is big clear. Like, how much, you know, it's their problem in a way. They're too much for them. So
yeah, definitely. I think nearly always it's the person saying it, not the person they're saying it to. But it depends. I mean, when someone says "oh, you're very short" thing, I know that there are bass players who are shorter than me. I know some of them. I've met them. They're very good. They're very nice people. So I know that when someone says that to me, it's really them just expressing their kind of amazement that the double bass even exists, which I'm quite amazed too, that it's lasted this long and that people bother carrying it around. But when someone says "oh, you're too emotional" thing, it's much harder to just go, oh, it's their problem, that's why they're saying that. A lot of the time, maybe that is the case and they weren't expecting your reaction, or they don't feel prepared to deal with your emotional reaction. But yeah, it's really hard to kind of be like, well, that's your problem, because I always feel bad, isn't it? It's guilt for reacting the way you do. So that's something I'd like to get better at, I think. Kind of realise that it's not always just kind of 100% my fault, that it comes from other people's reactions and other people's state of mind too. I think that's an important lesson.
Cool. And if you had to take all of the things that you've been called too much of, what do you love about, like, how are they your power and why do you love them about yourself?
Well, I kind of, in a weird way, I love the too small one, because you're doing something that people don't think you're capable of doing, physically capable of doing, which I think for women especially is it makes you feel great. You know, like I know quite a few women who do like weightlifting and like bodybuilding and things like that. And they often get told, oh, that's not really a woman's thing, is it? And it's the same with double bass. There are loads and loads and loads of women who play the double bass, but it just has this connotation to it. You know, if you see a bass player in a film, it won't be a woman. If you see double bass sections in orchestras, there might be one woman, maybe two, but there's definitely a thing about it. It's big and it's heavy and it's low, so it's a man's instrument. So I always feel a little kind of secret flame of, haha, I'm not sure what the word is, like retribution almost, when someone says, oh, you're very small, or that's bigger than you are. That's the thing they always say. And you're like, well, yeah. Do you think I don't know? But there's always a little bit of you that's like, yeah, bloody is. And I carry it around anyway, all the time. And I don't care, because I can carry it, because I'm strong. And I like being physically strong. Like, I'm always the first, if anyone says, oh, I've got to move that table, I will be the first person to say, I'll help. Though, you always see the look on their face of, oh, I was hoping a man would say they'd help. But I can move a Chesterfield if you need any help. Yeah. I can take a Chesterfield down a flight of narrow stairs. So just give me a call. Woman with a bass.
You mentioned before about the too angry and the too sensitive. Like, what do you love about that in yourself? Like, how is that your power?
I think I had a lot more work to do before I can say that I love it. But I do appreciate honesty in people. And even though I'm very sensitive and I often take things to heart, ironically, I do really respect someone when they show the ability to just be to say an unpleasant truth. When someone can do that, I really respect the people that can do that, and I try to do that too. And I've often had people say to me, well, it's a bit forward, or it's a bit too honest, or it's a bit too to the point, especially in England. I mean, come on. We're all dancing around.
Yeah.
And in a way, I hate it, because it means that I have many awkward moments with people a lot of the time. But in a way, I like it, because at least I'm not... I think I spent a lot of my younger days kind of not speaking, because I just wanted people to... not saying what I thought, because I didn't want people to disagree, or I didn't want people to think I was stupid, or da-da-da-da. But now I'm starting to feel a bit more capable of... when I think something, I can say it, and I'm getting to the point where I can kind of trust myself to do that. I still have moments where I'm like, oh God, why did I say that? Why? But I think we all probably have those moments.
Definitely.
Quite a lot.
I have them daily, like yesterday.
Yeah, I literally demonstrate. Yeah. But yeah, I'm starting to like that about myself, that I can do that. And I think being very sensitive is in many ways a good thing. My mother always used to tell me that it's a good thing, because it means that you can empathise with people, and you can feel other people's emotions, and you can also imagine how other people might react to how you are. So you can mirror yourself in a way, and you can see how other people behave, possibly in a more detailed, a more deep way than others. Which is hard, because it obviously means you get a lot of negative stuff too. But yeah, I'm not quite there to the loving it yet, but I hope one day I will. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. So, yeah. It is hard. It's like women in particular, just like a lifelong kind of...
it's a mission, isn't
sort
it?
of
self-acceptance.
It's been put in our heads that, these things are superfluous to what is necessary in this world.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to unlearn that.
That's very true, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about rationale and
Yeah,
anger
logic and money and...
Yeah.
Oh
Very
God,
capitalist.
I'm a musician. God, I've ruined it. It's over before it's even begun.
No. So, other question. If someone came to you and they were like 13 years old and they said, I've been called all the things that you've been called too much of, what would be your big piece of advice to them?
Well, I will just start by saying that if you're 13 and you want to play the double bass, just be aware that it's not... It is bigger than you and it is really heavy, and carrying it around is a pain in the ass, and you'll have to drive, and your parents will probably carry it for the first 5 or 6 years of your career, of your studying. But for someone, if someone was told they were too emotional and too sensitive, I would say all you can do is learn about other people, and you'll never be able to know exactly what's going on in other people's heads, but you can try to be conscious about what's going on in your own head. And there's a difference between being an emotional and sensitive person and letting your emotions take you for a ride. And I think that all you can do is learn more about yourself every day and try and understand why you feel certain ways, and don't just let them your emotions dictate to you instantaneously. But when they do take over, you shouldn't be ashamed of it either, because they're a powerful thing and they link us to the earth and to the rest of the human race, and whatever else is around is up there or down there. So don't be ashamed of your emotions, but don't let them take advantage of you either. There's a sweet spot somewhere, I'm sure. Yeah. Good luck. Don't play the double bass, don't do it. Just play the flute. Go on.
Awesome. If you could change the world tomorrow, what would you change and why?
Oh wow, that's a big one. If I could change the world, just one thing.
Anything. More than one thing. You could change it in whatever way you want.
Okay. 2 things. Stop Brexit. Like that. Just, it never happened. I think I'd like to live in a world where religion exists without the destructive side. I think religion and spirituality are so important and so beautiful in so many ways, and every day I kind of mourn the fact that religion has driven people to do such terrible things in the name of whichever name of a god they've decided is their one. But I would love to live in a world where religion could exist and not be the destructive force that it can sometimes be, and that people could live and respect other people's religions, and we could all, I don't want to say live harmoniously, but at least trust each other in the fact that your God might have a different name, or you might not even have a God, but it shouldn't matter. And I'd love to live in a world where that could be a thing.
That sounds like a great place.
Yeah, I think so.
And is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Can be dancing, playing, singing.
Yeah, I'll
words.
play you something. If you
Yeah,
like.
let's do that. Let me just stop and start them.
This song's called Misogyny.